It's time for the podcast, which is all about the world of marketing on television through TV shopping networks and infomercials. Are we on the air? I'm your host, Sean Wilsey, and for over 29 years, I've hosted shows on cable shopping networks, generating hundreds of millions of dollars in sales. And now I want to be your guide into this world, explaining how it works, why it works, what doesn't work, and introduce you to the people who are making it the success that it is today. The success Shop HQ has with Invicta is unmatched in the TV shopping universe. Every network has tried, and all have failed to equal what Invicta has been able to do. Part of the success can be attributed to the fantastic product, but as we've discussed on this show, the guest plays an integral role in a brand's success on television. And Ryan Johnson has been representing Invicta for over a decade and is as associated with the brand as the iconic yellow box. It gives me distinct pleasure to welcome Invicta Ryan to the show today. Ryan, I also have to greet you from someone, and I hope I'm saying the name right, Kogelman. He represents Invicta in Europe. He does the shows in Europe, and so he wanted me to make sure that I greet you. He hopes to meet you someday, but I mean that just shows how global this brand has become, and you certainly are the face of it. In fact, as we have Ryan right now, because you're getting ready in an hour to do a show on Shop HQ, aren't you?
That is correct. And please pass along my hello over to him also. That is great. And yes, I actually have a show coming up here in a couple hours. I have my pre-pro, as what you know, our little meeting that is an hour before the show to discuss the products, how the show flow is going to go, and any other matters. But Sean, I'd just like to say thank you so much for having me on. I know it took about 28 episodes for you to be able to ask me finally, and now I'm here. I'm glad I'm not number 75 or something like that.
Yeah, we're already regretting this decision, as a matter of fact. So, now, later on, we should explain for those that don't know, because this is hard for me to believe. Do you realize it has been almost a decade since we worked together on air?
Has it been really that long? I was thinking 7, 8 years.
June 2012 was my last show, and because I had you the day before my actual last show. And then I hung out in Minneapolis for 9 months, writing out a non-compete before I moved to Texas in 2013. So, yeah, the last show was almost 10 years ago now. And that just blows my mind to think about it, because it just, in so many ways, it feels like yesterday.
I would have totally said it was at least a couple years. It felt like we did so many shows because back then, we really did. Because back then, when I joined on board, it was really Michael Davis, who was a guest for Invicta at the time and did a lot of hours. Jill Summerstein would come up and fly up and do some shows on occasion, and also Al himself, the CEO of the Invicta Watch Group. But that's a reason why I actually have the job I have now, just to alleviate a lot of the shows. As you were mentioning in the introduction, we've really, in a sense, dominated a lot here in the home shopping. Being here at the network Shop HQ in Minnesota with the number of shows that we have and the customers that we have. But I would have said I thought it was a couple of years. And
it's unreal.
You were doing more of the overnight shows, and me starting out, I did a lot of the overnight shows, and I have to say there's just a ton of memories.
Oh yeah,
just packed into those late night shows we had together.
Oh yeah, and we'll talk more about that later on, because it's for those that are newer to Invicta. You have no idea the antics that were had. But take me back, because even before you were representing Invicta on Shop HQ, you were an on-air model. You did a lot of modeling. Yes. How did you even get into modeling to begin with?
Funny enough, it was back in 2004. I was working for a boat company, and more in the corporate office realm down in downtown Minneapolis, the IDS Center, which I know you are familiar with.
Yep.
And after I was there for a year, they decided to sell off a few of their different brands from the boat company. And with that, they had to downsize the corporate office, and me being the new guy in the purchasing department, I was let go. So I ended up just going back to my roots, what I did for college, just to keep on earning an income for the summer, and drove charter boats. I've had my master pilot's license for commercial inland vessels since 1995, and just needed, an income to get by. And just out of sheer randomness, one day I just submitted a photo to an agency, and just never expecting to hear back. And back then, of course, we had our little digital cameras, and I took a photo. I should send them to you sometime. I know I have them buried away
Oh,
somewhere. Me on the
please.
stairs with a t-shirt and some raggedy jeans and a bandana.
Of
That was my
course. Oh my
that was my
God.
casual photo because that's how I rocked every day, right? Not. And but then I took one with a nice sort of like plant in front of me on the table, the table in front of the couch and little plant there, and I was in a suit and just submitted it off to an agency, actually called Agency Models in Talent. They're still around. Great agency. Never expecting to hear back, and they said, "We'll get back to you in 30 days if we find you potentially marketable." I just sent it off, never hoping to hear anything. 10 minutes later, I got an email back from the owner, Carrie. And she said, "Hey, Ryan, you caught me on a good day. Let's meet." And from there, I booked a few billboards and
Right.
some other things. It was just something different that I never thought I would ever be involved in or be a part of or have any sort of success at.
Yeah.
And it came out that there was some auditions for, at the time, Shop NBC for models.
Sure.
And I met with who was in charge. Her name is Kathy. I believe you know
Oh
Kathy.
my gosh. Yes.
Yes, and I auditioned for it. She said, "When are you available?" But at that time, then I was in sales. I had received a sales job. And I said, "Well, I'm available whenever you need, 24/7." Because back then, or maybe some people don't know, but we were live 24/7, 365 basically.
Certainly
And
were.
so I would end up working my day job from 8 until 5, go to bed for a few hours, wake up in the middle of the night and model a couple shows on television, and then go back to bed, go to work. That was kind of my routine, just for some added income. But I did find a huge interest in being in this industry. Did that for years, and then upon that, one day got a random phone call from it's 954-305. Just let it go to voicemail. I knew it was a South Florida number. Just
Right.
let it go. Checked it the next day, and it was Al. And he said, "Ryan, I want you to want to know if you're interested in working for me and sitting behind the desk, just not modeling and
Yeah.
representing the company." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I should have got to this voicemail yesterday." And
Oh, it's
but
happened
it
to
took
all
a
of
little
us.
bit.
Yep.
Yeah, it took a little bit of time, but we just worked everything out. And I'll say it's been a career. It's been a dream job. It is something that I would like to receive my final paycheck doing,
Sure.
is being on television, representing Invicta on television.
And I've told Ryan many times that even since I moved out of Minneapolis, I will still watch his shows. Ryan and Kendi are one of the ideal pairings on television in this industry. It just, for anybody that's listening to this that wonders, give me an example to emulate the chemistry Ryan Johnson and Kendi Klepfer have, and you're also getting with Nikki, I've told you that, is
Yes.
unmatched in this industry. There is an ability that you can't learn, that is just, it's innate that they have. And I think that's part of why you have been such a success. What is it about Invicta as a brand, though? Because I said in my opening comments, every network has
Mm-hmm.
tried to emulate this. You and
Yes.
I saw it when we were at Shop NBC. People were trying other networks to reproduce the magic, if you want to use that word, and I don't know if that applies, that Invicta has. What is it that Invicta is doing that they do so well?
I think a big thing is, and I've said this for years, Sean, is that my boss, the CEO of the Invicta Watch Group, Al Lalo, you say that somebody's, one step ahead of the game, but to me, he really seems like he's 3 or 4 steps ahead.
Good point.
Just going
Good point.
beyond what anybody can think or conceptualize. That he's 2 steps even ahead of that, and just following trends out there and coming out with new ideas, new technologies, new business models. Remote broadcasts.
Yeah,
I
true.
know over the years they've done remote broadcasts here and there, but it's something that we've actually really been solid with for the last 10 years, just outside of the pandemic. Of course, we had to scale back on that a little bit, but he is just really the founding force of where Invicta is today, which is just a huge and tremendous success story.
I look at it, I have, it's more of a visual, so the listeners won't see this, but
Sure.
I have here my original Pro Diver that I bought in Oh my gosh, mid 90s. It was before they were even on Shop NBC. It's one of the
Sure.
original Pro Divers, 43 millimeter
40
case. Or
oh,
is it 40?
43 millimeter.
No, you would probably know better than I. It might be 40. I don't know. But
Yeah, it's probably a 40.
this has held up. Like I said, it's probably 96, 97 has held up better than, well, many watches I purchased in that period. The gold plating is still there. I mean, and I'm not here to turn this into an Invicta commercial, but it's just,
Sure.
you know, when you talk about what AL is doing right, it's things like this. You know, he's producing a product that people can go back to, and they do year in and year out, over and over again. My original Lupa, again, still works. That was 2004. I think I got that.
Yep.
Because they say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery. He should be very flattered because I've seen his designs knocked off a million times over.
Yes, I have too. And, I guess that is a form of flattery out there when we do have, unique and different designs. And even with some of the ideas that we've come out with, such as the iridescent plating. I'd never seen iridescent plating before. And then after, it seemed like it took off, some other companies were doing that. But then even just other, like, I saw scooters, like kids' scooters, those little, they were iridescent painted and everything, and then cars started being, so I don't know if it was the original, but once you're around it, then you start to notice it more often. But just very, very interesting.
And now that Invicta has expanded into jewelry and so many other things, successfully, I might add, how do you explain this loyalty? Because it's gone beyond watches now, so that the watch customer is now buying the jewelry and the other products that are out.
Well, that's the thing, Sean. I mean, we have the customers that, who have been around for a while. They're extremely loyal to the brand, and they understand we come up with so many different designs and ideas and materials and use different movements. I mean, there's just always something new coming out from us. And when it came to, and it's a way to accessorize yourself. That's one of the big things. I know you were talking about that you have your Apple Watch, and you had it, everybody has it. It collects some dust now a little bit, but it's a timepiece that really distinguishes yourself and who you are. And by having the loyal customers there, we believe that the jewelry is just another facet then to really sort of create your own style and really make yourself who you want to be.
It's such a chance for a brand to reach out like that and to do it successfully. I mean, again, it speaks to the loyalty of the Invicta customer. How many watches do you have now?
Approximately 150.
Oh,
so I have to do a recount on it, but yes, I have right around that 150 mark. And here's the thing: is you probably heard the statistic is over that 50% of our customer base have 10 or more watches. And during the course of the show, we take the testimonial calls, and people. It's amazing. I find that some customers will, since April, they've amassed a collection of 80 Invicta watches.
Wow.
And it just makes me proud of this company I work for and represent, and customers will call in, and they maybe just have a few watches, but they're really excited, or dozens and hundreds. And we have a few select customers that even in fact have over 1,000 timepieces, 2,000. There was a customer who called the other month. He had 2,999. And
wow,
for somebody to go back to a company, even if it's a couple hundred times over, and gift that buy that product over and over, hundreds of times over, just really, in my mind, tells me that we're doing something that's right out there.
Oh, absolutely. Invicta is doing something right. And again, it's become global now. I mentioned a moment ago, you getting an acknowledgement, a hello from the person who represents the brand in Europe. So it really has become this whole global thing. When I was visiting the in-laws in Puerto Rico, and one of the first things that greets you at the San Juan airport is an Invicta store. We go to the Mall of Puerto Rico, a big Invicta store. So it's got this. Go ahead.
You go on the cruise ships.
Yeah.
We're on well over 100 different cruise ships. Maybe it's over 150 now. And I've actually been on with Merritt's before, and we'll go on and host trunk shows and get people all excited and have raffles and just rally around. Outside of the Invicta cruise we have, it's just a normal cruise. And now we have building some of our own brick and mortar stores out there. And it's so much fun to be around and to just be a part of this brand. And, as you had mentioned too, it's the iconic yellow box, which is just, it's standout, whether you're in retail or home shopping on TV, wherever you happen to go, it's always just quite noticeable out there.
What's your favorite? Boy, I'm putting you on the spot. Your
That's
favorite Invicta?
Well, one of them would definitely have to be my first Invicta watch from over 15 years ago. Very similar to yours. It's
Yes.
an automatic 40 millimeter dive watch, Pro Diver, model 8926 OB.
Of course you remember that.
Specific,
of course.
The one I actually have right now, same sort of style. It's a 47 millimeter reserve. It's actually one that I designed. It's
no kidding.
Coming from our Pro Diver. It's the reserve model, so it's the 500 meters of water resistance, the screw down case back. But I asked them to bring back tungsten. We haven't done tungsten.
Oh, I love tungsten. Good move.
And so that's what this is, and it's extremely heavy. The 500 meters of water resistance, and then I wanted there are two different dials. I have both of them, the meteorite dial, but then also the sandstone, which is just reflects. My daughter today, I took my daughter to the train to go back to school, and she looked at the dial on this watch outside and she was just amazed. She's like, "Dad, that is just the coolest dial I've ever seen on a watch before." I'm like, "Well, yeah, I think it is too." So I think, the Pro Diver, I'm, probably very fond of. And one other one would be a Sub-Aqua number 3 that I got a number of years ago.
Are you still surprised that watches have the following that they do? I mean, it's the smartwatch came onto the scene, and for a while that was a real status symbol. Now, everyone has one. Because I still get this question all the time from people. It's like, well, my cell phone tells me the time. I don't need to wear a watch. Yeah, how has a wristwatch stayed relevant in the year 2021, 2022?
Well, my whole take is that's just some people. It doesn't cover the whole market at all. Not everybody thinks that. They have their cell phones. Some people still use a GPS in their cars, and they don't want to be looking at their phone and everything else. I mean, there's just something for everybody out there, and we just have such a large customer base, and it continues to expand. And as we mentioned before, we're definitely doing something right, but we're always keeping things exciting. Coming out with between 4,000 and 5,000 different models every single year. I mean, there are things coming down the pike that I don't even know about.
Sure.
When I come to the show, and for some reason, communication just somehow didn't get to me on a particular watch. I'm like, what is this? I've never seen. And it's fun though. It's actually, I almost prefer that when I don't know something that's coming down, because then I'm overly excited and want to present that watch on television and tell everybody what I just thought of. I just saw this for the first time, and look at this. We have these new stones that are in this tube that actually glow. I mean, it's just, all these fun, unique things that the design team and AL are just so overly creative with. It just makes it, nothing is never, stagnant, or putting our feet up on our heels up on the desk and saying, "Yep, we're just going to kind of roll with this." It's always, that's what from the top down, everybody gets pushed a little bit more and a little bit more to just see what we can do. Just push outside of even the far reach of a creative realm we've already established for ourselves.
What has been the biggest maybe surprise for you since you became an on-air personality for Invicta? Something that you totally misunderstood in the watch world, or just in general?
I think part of it was when I first started. I started this as a part-time job for me. If this is answering your question correctly, that I always thought it would be a supplement to my life. And I knew you, and you had made that career. I just never thought it would, when I first started out, just modeling at the network and having, somewhat of a presence here, that it would actually turn into a career for me, and which it did. And that just really surprised me. When I went to college and I was a marketing major, thought I'd just be in sales. I mean, this is sales, but never in a realm of where I would be somewhere on occasion, get recognized, being out and about where, "Oh, I've seen you before," or Invicta. It's really boggling just to think that I'm where I'm at today. And I have to say, I genuinely appreciate the opportunity that I have. And I just always try to meet and exceed, what's ever asked of me.
I've watched you do, and I don't know if you still do them, I haven't seen one in a while, the shows where you and Justin basically do everything. There's no host. It's you
Correct.
and
Yes,
Justin.
Yes.
How is that different? Because you've got to have a different appreciation. It's a different skill set to be a host versus a guest. How did you feel doing
Yes.
those?
You know what? I actually liked it. It was something different, something I hadn't done before. And at the time, I believe the network, was down maybe a couple of hosts and just needed to just have some help out. And Justin and I were more than happy to step up and help the network however we could. And we came up with this idea of having these takeover shows, and where we didn't have the official formal training that hosts went through, but we have done so many shows. I probably do between, just in terms of live shows, between 5, 6, 700 a year, depending on, the year and such. And so you can pick up on the cues and what the hosts do. And when you're in the pre-pro meetings, when the producer is talking to the host and say, this is a GWP, gift with purchase. You pick up on what they're saying also in terms of just, because when the host is talking, sometimes a producer is talking to you or a director, but then you're also always constantly listening for those 700 hours every year of what a host is saying too, and picked up on it. And I thought we flowed really well together. What Justin and I would do is one of us would take the host role and do the introduction for the first half hour of the show, and then we would flip flop. So we do the call to action with the last 30 seconds, wrap it up, and keep things moving on. It flowed really well, and it was actually quite fun.
It was really entertaining to watch for anyone that missed those. It was a lot of fun. You have, as I said before, an ability, especially with Kendi and with Nikki, although I caught you the other night with Jen, who I'm a huge fan of. She was amazing as well.
Yeah, she's a great host.
When you look at certain hosts and the skill set they have, what makes a good host? Because I know you've worked with the other extreme as well. We won't go down that road, but what makes a good host?
I think a good host, I think it comes, first thing is, when I worked with you, you have to have a chemistry.
Yes.
And you and I obviously had a chemistry, even though I can't even believe it was less than a year. It felt like many, many years together. And I guess that's why, because we had this chemistry. I think that is really the primary factor that goes on. And then, just getting to know each other more, know each other's sort of cadences. When somebody is ready to toss it over to you, you just instinctively know that that everything is going to come back to you now, and you have to come up with what you're going to say, compliment from what they just left off on, instead of, because it's happened to me before over the years where I was just talking about the flame fusion crystal on the watch and how durable it is. And then I'll go back to the host and they'll mention, well, what about that flame fusion crystal? But then I get it, because what happens is that they're being talked to from the producer that I've learned over the years. So they're not always listening to what we're saying, but for the most time, yes. And so you just learn to roll really with those out there. And, we have a great crew at the network now, everybody who I work with. And we always, especially with Nikki, because we both know you, we like to say, oh, Sean in Texas is watching right now.
That's true.
I think
do
Sean
that.
in Texas might have bought one of these, and then we'll do a screen record and send it to you. And, and that's the other thing too, is with the host. I think it's important you want to accomplish, what you're out. What my job is to give you all the information possible for you to make a valid decision as to whether or not you want to buy that watch, or maybe it's one you want to pass on based on the information. But the where was I going with that? I just had a mind. Where were we?
This is so good.
I know.
I'm just letting you sink.
This is what you've been waiting for. It took 23 minutes.
I know. This is,
and it was bound to happen.
Yes, it was. And I'm letting it roll. This will get aired just like this. There'll be no editing of this out of the show. So.
So we were talking about the chemistry.
Yes.
And
you and Nikki and me and just.
What was it? It was.
I don't know.
The other. Here it is. This is it. So, a lot on my mind. But the other thing too is to have fun, and to have fun with that other host, and to bounce that fun, that energy off of one another. Because I think people like to find out about the product and all the information that the product actually has. But to have some fun or have a little bit of randomness that goes along with the show to entertain people too. They want to, have that entertainment factor, I think, be a part of the show. Now, what percentage? I think that varies, but I always like to be a little bit random, and to keep the host going. Like, for example, last night, I was on a 3-hour break. Or a 3-hour show. I had a lot of water in me. And so I came back into the studio. I went in the restroom and just, did my number one.
Yes.
But then I grabbed about a 10-foot roll of toilet paper and I shoved it in my shoe. And I walked back into the studio, just to make people laugh.
Yes.
And the visual was like pointing at me and like, what's that? What's that? And, and I'm like, I know. And I walk in front of the host. The host started cracking up, this control room starts laughing. And, I like to bring, some fun to the show and some randomness and try to make people laugh. That's what I really enjoy too, is to just try to make people laugh.
And Ryan, we're going to continue this on the next episode. And I want to begin that show talking about some of the moments that you and I shared together on air all those years ago now, because certainly there's some very funny stories to tell, and we'll be telling some of those stories, the clean ones, on the next show. So I hope that you will check that out. Hey, if you're enjoying this series of episodes with Ryan Johnson and Invicta Ryan, subscribe. Make sure whatever app you're listening to this on that you subscribe to the show so you don't miss any of the upcoming shows. And, of course, you can go back and listen to the previous podcasts that have been done. So like, comment, and share. And I hope you'll check me out on Twitter and Facebook, Shawn Wilsey, full name, ShawnWilsie, and on Instagram, SWilsey. Thank you for downloading this edition of Are We On The Air? This has been a King Bobby production.
Yes, I know, Travis. That's why we give such bargains.